When I first met Annie, I thought I knew what kind of girl I was getting myself into. However, after 2 terms sitting next to her in every economics lecture, I couldn't go on to tell you how many times this girl has surprised me with her knowledge and understanding of the finance in the corporate world. Annie, I'm going to demonstrate 3 traits she has which puts her up to be a really good contender for the JCR Treasurer. First is her involvement in college. She, in the sporting side, is the Hatfield Cox. In all situations, she can manage a small group of people, whether it's new or old, and she leads it really well. She also gets really well involved with the Hatfield spirit. She's my college wife, and after she's got a lot of attendance at formals, and also she applies for amazing roles like this. Her personality as well. She's very approachable. She'll have a great face for the JCR Treasurer, and very understanding. Also, she's extremely organised and be great in this position. Thirdly is her attitude. Her love for economics and her wider interest in the subject is amazing, and her determination to succeed, whether it's solving a financial issue or conflict socially. Personally, I don't think of anyone better suited to the role as JCR Treasurer, as whatever problem she is burdened with, she will always find a solution. So, all the best.
Thank you very much, Will. Next up, can we have Ollie Burrows, please, who's proposing Ollie Carruthers.
Ollie once told me, when drunk in the Highlands of Scotland, that his career plan is to be as rich as possible. I'm not sure a maths degree was the immediately obvious route to this, but it made him very good with calculations. Unusually for a mathematician, and I apologise if they are only here tonight, though I doubt it, other people aren't really there. Ollie has a wide range of interests. He's a sometime member of the college rugby team. Why? That's just so long. Keen attendee at formals and treasurer for Hatfield Duck, living in charge of the literally tens of pounds that they make from open mic cocktails. Notably, he's also an exceptionally poor pool player. These interests and a keen understanding of budgeting will allow him to divide the college budget fairly amongst those that need it, whether it be drama, the bar, or the pressing issue that the college is in dire need of a new croquet set. Carruthers is a man of many skills. He's a boss at using Excel spreadsheets, and he always remembers when you owe him a pint. These skills have landed him the role of treasurer at this year's Lion and Winter Ball. Over the last few months, he's been in charge of more money than most Hatfielders have in their trust funds, and he's used it to organise what looks like it will be one of the best nights of this year. Throughout the process, he's had to deal with college officers, the caterers, and entertainment companies, though he assures me that Darryl still hasn't accepted his Facebook friend request. I'm sure Ollie will show you himself this evening how good a treasurer he'll be, if you can understand a word he says. But all that's left for me to say is that if I had to trust anyone in college with a budget the size of the cost of a small house, it would be Ollie. So, do it. Vote him.
Thank you very much, Annie. We'll now move on to some questions from Jamie, and you'll ask them alternately. So, Annie, you'll start, and then Ollie will answer the second question first.
Do you feel that it is appropriate that the exec receive compensation from the JCR in the form of free formal food, wine, bonding trips, and a small amount of remuneration?
Okay, well, I was reviewing the JCR budget earlier this week, and I was surprised at how much money actually was set aside for the wine specifically at JCR, for formals in Hatfield. And it's about £1,400 a year, which if I could spend that much money on wine, that would be an interesting evening. But I think that the compensation, the monetary remuneration that the JCR and the exec have, it is actually perfectly legitimate and feasible, because they do so much work in college, and they go to formals, they're always here when we need them. The frapping work they do, it takes a lot of man hours and time. So, you know, if they get a bottle of wine sometimes, or, you know, a trip out, I think that's really worth it, and it's something that they deserve for what they do.
Yeah, I'd like to completely agree with that on that one, actually. The formal wine cost is quite a big cost if you look at the whole budget. But given the work they do, and given that other colleges are actually paying their exec members, particularly the senior man, a lot of money, 12,000 I believe in some cases, it goes to show that it really is justified. And these guys work just as hard, if not harder, than any of the other college exec members. So I think it is entirely justified given the amount of hours we're putting in each week.
Thank you. Levies at the beginning of the first years now stand at £318, one of the highest in the university. £88 of this goes to the college, £30 goes to HMRC as VAT, and only £200 goes to the JCR. Do you think it stands at a good level, or would you seek to change it? How would you go about this?
Okay, the first thing I'm going to say about the levies is I've actually had a look at the levies for the last 5 years, and they've rocketed astronomically. 4 years ago, they were £84 less than they are now, which is a massive, it's been a massive increase over the past few years. But having said that, all the money you put into it, you get out of it. Hatfield College JCR give the Hatfielders a lot more than what the other colleges are getting for their money. And so I wouldn't look to decrease the level of the levy as it currently stands. There could be minor increases just to match inflation, just because that's how it is, but I wouldn't seek to increase it at the same rate as it's currently been increasing. I will, however, say that due to the possible split of budget between here and Sochi Hall, which is where some of the residents might be living next year, and due to the fact that Pace will be renovated, there will be a complete re-evaluation of the levies. Because, for example, the gym might be completely out of action next year, and so there'd be no reason to pay kind of gym upkeep for your levy, so that might be taken out. But I wouldn't look to dramatically decrease the levies or increase them.
So the levy, as you said, at the moment is about £318, but with the threat of deflation at the moment, this might even go down, which some of us will enjoy. However, I would not seek to reduce the levy amount because the benefits and the facilities that we get as a result of payment, they're extraordinary. I mean, me personally, I spend probably too much time in the reading room, which I would not have if we didn't pay for the upkeep of that, and upkeep of the library, of the gym, of the facilities that we have. That money, the JCR levy, is what encompasses Hatfield. It's what makes us who we are. It's what feeds the JCR and the community. And without that, I feel like we could lose a sense of what we have and what we are. So at the moment, considering the building structures restructuring that may happen next year, at the moment I would not seek to change the levy fee.
Thank you. The JCR subsidised formals significantly, and as such makes up a large proportion of the budget. Bearing in mind that attendance at some formals is incredibly low, would you seek to lower, maintain, or increase the price?
Sorry, could you just repeat? Increase the price of what?
Oh, sorry. Increase the price charged to JCR members.
Okay, well, this is a trend that I've noticed, that attendance to formals has significantly decreased. However, I don't want to have to change the funding that goes towards it, because I think it's such a great idea. It's such a great way to be part of college, to be part of Hatfield. So maybe we can look at this in a different direction. So maybe increase the advertising or the themes, as I said previously in the previous husting about formals, for example. So maybe that's a different direction that we can take, a non-monetary approach to how we can make formals more popular, and then that can address the financial situation that's connected to that.
Okay, so I had a look at the budget earlier this week, and particularly about formals and how much they're costing. And formals are costing the JCR, if I can remember correctly, approximately £20,000 a year, which is about 10% of the total turnover. It is a lot of money, but all in all, I think the formals are part of what makes Hatfield Hatfield. No other colleges seem to offer formals that are nearly as good and as regular that Hatfield do. So I really wouldn't want to be charging more and putting people off formals. I think it is just something we're going to have to all swallow, and something we just have to accept that will cost a little bit of money, but it's part of what makes Hatfield unique. And I think everyone in Hatfield will be willing to pay the price to come to formal.
What is your opinion on the JCR subsidising events such as Lion and Winter Ball in order to make tickets cheaper or the event more extravagant?
So, if you go back to London Winterval is essentially an all-college event, and we're all putting money into the JCR, and so I see it fair that money comes out to, in certain circumstances, back into London Winterval. But yeah, that's all I can say on that one.
I think that it's an extremely good idea that the JCR in Hatfield fund and subsidise events such as the Lion and Winter Ball and the fashion show, the Michaelmas Ball, everything like that. Because it's so amazing that these Hatfield students have the opportunity to attend events like this. We're so privileged to be in a position where we can go to these things and experience these things and spend time with our fellow college friends, that the fact that the JCR actually has the funds and the ability to subsidise them is a massive privilege and something that I don't think we can cut back on. Yes, there is quite a lot of money that is funneled through these channels, but I think it's all worth it and people have a great time. It builds college spirit and fun and great publicity for the college and attraction, and I think they're a really good thing.
How important do you feel it is to move payments for events online, bearing in mind the DSO framework?
I think that it's a massive step in financial modernity actually to transfer these kinds of payments online, because it massively reduces the possibility and the margin of error, because if, say, the humans are writing down all these numbers, then there's such great kind of scope for financial mathematical errors, which is something that I think as a treasury we really want to cut down on and avoid. So a more financial efficiency in this way is something that I think we really should strive to achieve for, and something that I've pointed out in my podcast. So more online payment and more efficient monetary systems like that is something we should really be striving to achieve.
Okay, to my knowledge, all or most Hatfield clubs and societies currently have online payment methods for all their members for things like subs. So, like to use the football club for example, members can pay their subs online via back transfer. But where the DSO framework comes into it is for events like Lion and Winter Ball, when we don't just accept, or we don't actually accept online payments for that. We mainly accepted checks, but we also accepted cash. And this is where the problem arises, because we actually took in over £10,000 of cash just for this one event, so £10,000 of kind of notes and coins, which is actually going against the DSO framework in that we're not technically allowed to have that much money in college. So this is a really major issue that I would look to address next year and try and bring some sort of card reader system so that people can pay with their cards in college rather than bring cash in and go against the DSO framework.
One second.
This was the point of writing questions before.
How would you deal with a situation in which the exec voted to spend money on something despite you stressing there was not enough room left in the budget?
Well, according to the standing orders of the JCR, JCR Treasurer, it is the JCR Treasurer who is ultimately responsible for the budget. So it would go against my standing order to approve this payment that we don't have room for. So I would have to say, right guys, look, we literally cannot afford this. Come up with an alternative. Go back to the drawing board. We just cannot do this. I'd stress that and say, look, I'd like to help you, I'd like to make this payment, but I just can't. It goes against the college standing orders.
Although I agree with the statement that my colleague just made, however, if it was a crucial thing that the JCR needed to fund, then I might implement a policy of sequestration through the rest of the JCR bodies and clubs and societies. So equal and immediate takeaway transactions from each society. So then there's a sum of money that can be used for that specific event, and then in time then that can happen to other ones, and then the deficit in finances can then be repaid. But however, as my colleague said, it is against a standing order and what the JCR Treasurer should represent, that you shouldn't really go over how much you should have, and you should stick within your guidelines and how much money you have in the pot.
All right, thank you very much, both of you. That's all the questions from up here. Are there any questions on the floor they would like to ask? Yes, Dan?
What do you think you would do in the circumstance that you received like an unforeseen payment, or something came upon or befell the JCR that you needed to pay immediately that you didn't necessarily have the funds for but needed to be paid very, very quickly? Like, how do you respond?
So if there was a sudden payment that the JCR had to make that you didn't really have, that you didn't expect and didn't have the funds for, what would you do?
If it was an immediate and pressing payment matter, then I would go into the contingency fund and then take some money out of that. But obviously there would have to be an investigation process as to why this unforeseen payment has come about, and then in the future make changes so this event doesn't happen again.
Yeah, so I'd basically immediately have a look and try and work out where this has come from and why it hadn't previously been accounted for. And if it was a legitimate payment that needed to be made, I would dip into the kind of buffer, the contingency fund, that is and will need to be set aside massively so that we can pay for these kind of things and events up front before they take place and before we take the money in from them. There will be a huge buffer. It takes about kind of 30% of the whole JCR account, so that these kind of things don't happen and we don't run out of money for you guys.
Thank you very much. Are there any other questions? No, in which case, Ollie, would you like to go first? You've got 2 minutes.
I'll try and keep this quite brief. So I was fortunate enough to be on the Lion and Winter Ball exec committee, actually as treasurer for that committee. It's the largest Hatfield event, and it's a couple of weeks' time. Hopefully it'll be really good, but it's shaping up to be a really good event. But during that time, I've really learned a lot about how the college works, about how the college officer structure works, about how payments are made, and just lots of things that would assist me if I were to be successful in being elected for JCR treasurer. Also in that position, I've been lucky enough to work very closely alongside the current JCR treasurer, so I feel I've got quite a depth of knowledge into what his job actually entails. Yeah, so thank you very much for listening to me ramble on, and hope we have a good time.
Thank you very much, Ollie. I hope you have a good time too.
Well, I'd like to thank you all for coming here tonight, and JCR Exec for being here. Now, one obvious thing is I am a first year, I'm an economics student, I don't do maths. I may not have the specific technical qualifications and experience that Ollie has. However, what I lack there, I make up in the other aspects of my multifaceted character. So I'm an approachable person, I make a great member of the exec body. I'm up for formals twice a week, I can do that. I've got the stamina for that kind of that social commitment, I can do that. But also I think I've got the basic fundamentals that the treasurer should have. So I'm meticulously organised, I'm very hard working, I'm good at time management, I'm a team player, so I'll be great in the JCR and with working with the exec, just increase the transparency and communication between everyone. So I think that's a fundamental thing to have, because if we do, then everything will run smoothly and we'll be just a happier college community. Thank you.